There is a sentence in Peter Pan that no film has ever touched. It is about what happens to lost boys who begin to grow up. The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up arrived in 1902 in a book for adults, became a play in 1904, a novel in 1911, and none of those versions is soft. You know, the flying, the pirates, the ticking crocodile. The book you half remember keeps interrupting its adventure to say darker things, quietly. Put the pantomime next to the prose, and the prose keeps winning on darkness. None of what follows is subtext. It is text. Here is the sentence, complete. The lost boys, Barrie writes, vary in numbers, according as they get killed and so on. And then this. Find out how? Sent home? Killed? The text refuses to say, and the refusal is doing exact, deliberate work. Neverland has rules, and enforcement. Neverland itself is armed, pirates, wolves, mermaids who will politely pull you under. The island wakes when Peter returns, violence is its heartbeat. Marooners rock, the tide rising, no rescue in sight. Peter's line about dying is the most famous in the play, delivered by a child, thrilled. Wendy is shot out of the sky on arrival, and Tootles proudly claims the kill. The children's army has already been drilled in casualties. The earlier Peter is stranger still. In Kensington Gardens, he buries the children who die falling from their prams after the gates lock. With a little spade. Rackham illustrated that first Peter, part bird, part boy, living on an island in the Serpentine, for a book aimed squarely at adults. Now the part that explains everything. Peter Pan begins with a death in Scotland when James Barrie was 6 years old. His older brother David, their mother's favourite, died in a skating accident 2 days before turning 14. The family never recovered. Barrie's own memoir records the aftermath, a small boy putting on his dead brother's clothes, learning his whistle, standing in doorways as a ghost by request. And the family's one consolation, repeated for decades, is the seed of everything. David, by dying young, would never grow up. Hold that beside Neverland. The boys who fed the fiction came later. The 5 Llewellyn Davies brothers, met in Kensington Gardens, games first, guardianship eventually. Peter Pan was assembled from their games. One brother lent the name Peter, Michael, the fourth, lent the face most biographers see in Pan. Their real lives ran darker than the book, war and early loss among them. Peter, the namesake, came to call the play that terrible masterpiece. One detail is repeated in Barrie law, and hedged here on purpose, that after 1915, the death line was quietly cut from wartime performances. Reportedly. Lay the dates out and the pattern is unmistakable. A lost boy in 1867 becomes the boy who cannot be lost, 40 years of drafts later. Barrie kept revising for decades. In the 1908 afterthought, Wendy is grown, Peter returns, notices almost nothing, and takes her daughter instead. Generation after generation, Peter takes the daughters of the daughters. The novel names this arrangement, in its very last word, heartless. So the viral claim needs trimming to fit the evidence. The sentence is real. The confession is invented. One genuinely warm footnote, Barrie signed Peter Pan over to a children's hospital in 1929, and by special law, London's sick wards still collect his royalties. Read whole. The book is an elegy wearing an adventure's clothes, about mothers and windows, about time, and about one boy for whom the window never shut. Critics long ago stopped calling it a children's book that got dark. They call it a grief book that children happen to love. Both readings hold. And remember the knight's biggest gamble, Tick drinks poison meant for Peter, and lives only if strangers clap for fairies. Barrie bet his climax on belief, nightly. That is why the darkness never feels pasted on. It is load-bearing. Neverland exists because a mother in Kerriemua could not stop grieving. Peter Pan endures because it tells the truth children already suspect: growing up is survivable, and its alternative is not a fairy tale. Next, The Juniper Tree, the darkest story the Grimms ever printed, and the one almost nobody knows. Fair warning, and fair fascination. Subscribe for the versions underneath.